When these cells are infused into the patient, they start searching for AML cells, for cancer cells, and when they find these cells using an antibody on their surface, they bind to these cells, get activated, and kill these AML cells. So that's in a nutshell what this therapy is all about.
Hello, you're watching Proactive. I'm joined by Hemogenics Pharmaceuticals CEO, Dr. Vladislav Sandler. Vladik, very good to speak with you. You've announced the first human dose of your CAR T cell therapy, HGCT1. So a big milestone for the company.
Hi, Stephen. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me again. Good to talk to you. Yes, you're absolutely right. We just injected our first patient with our proprietary CAR T cell therapy for the treatment of relapsed and refractory acute myeloid leukemia in adults. This is a true milestone for our company, as you correctly pointed out, and I'm ready to answer your questions regarding this treatment.
Well, maybe to take a step back, Vladik, who's the treatment targeted at and what does it do?
So we are trying to cure a very deadly disease, which is called acute myeloid leukemia. These are cancer of myeloid cells, and this is one of the worst blood cancers in existence. So typically, only 30% of newly diagnosed patients, when they're treated using the frontline therapy, respond to this frontline therapy and go into remission. 70% of all patients, newly diagnosed patients, including the patient that we currently injected, they typically either fail to respond to the frontline therapy, or the disease AML comes back very, very fast. So when they fail to respond, as the patient that we're dealing with right now, these patients are called refractory, and when the disease comes back fast, they are called relapsed acute myeloid leukemia patients. So these are the patients, these are adult patients that we are targeting right now. Adult meaning from 18 to infinity, basically, pretty much any age. So as I mentioned just a second ago, we already injected the first patient with our proprietary CAR T cell therapy. What is CAR T cell therapy? CAR stands for chimeric antigen receptor. So in our case, this chimeric antigen receptor is the receptor of the third generation. So this is an advanced CAR that we developed inside our company ourselves. The third generation CAR has certain advantages compared to the second generation. And second generation is the generation that is used in every single approved CAR T cell therapy as of today. So our third generation has about the same efficacy based on research from other groups, clinical research from other groups, has the same efficacy as the second generation. However, it is much safer, as has been shown in clinical trials. So what we are doing, we are taking mononuclear cells from the patient. We process these cells, isolate T cells, then we modify these T cells, make them to express or make this CAR, chimeric antigen receptor, and then we expand these cells, freeze them, and send them back to the hospital for the infusion. When these cells are infused into the patient, they start searching for AML cells, for cancer cells, and when they find these cells using an antibody on their surface, they bind to these cells, get activated, and kill these AML cells. So that's in a nutshell what this therapy is all about.
Vladik, with the first patient now injected, What are the next steps?
So according to the protocol that was approved by the FDA, we have to have 28 days between the injection of first patient or second patient or third patient and the so-called lymphodepletion of the next patient. Lymphodepletion is the procedure that allows the physicians to remove T cells and B cells from the patient blood to prepare that patient for the infusion of modified T cells, of our CAR T cells. So in practice, we can start manufacturing the next patient literally today. However, we are waiting for the hospital to find that next patient, and the search is ongoing already. And the moment that patient is found and qualified, the whole chain of events will start anew. So this patient, the blood from that patient will be drawn, then it processed at the hospital, sent to us. We will isolate T cells, manufacture CAR T cells, expand them, freeze them, and send back to the hospital for the infusion. So from this point on, we expect acceleration of the process, the acceleration of the clinical trial. I have to also point out, and everyone can read this on clinicaltrials.gov, because our protocol, the summary of our protocol is there. After the fourth patient, when we go to the next dose of CAR T cells for the treatment, we can accelerate significantly, because we can infuse patients every 14 days. So what we expect is, if we have enough resources, we expect significant acceleration of clinical trials. I also would like to point out that after the infusion of the first or any patient, there is a 28 days that are designated as the so-called official safety trial. So during these 28 days, the patient is tested several times for adverse effects of this cell therapy, and as a secondary readout for the efficacy or potential efficacy of this treatment. So we, at this point, after a few days post-infusion, we did not have bad news, which is good news, because anything adverse happening must be reported to us, and if it's a really severe adverse side effect, it has to be reported to the FDA. So we did not have any bad news, or in fact any news in this respect. So we assume, because we do not interact with the patient directly, we assume that everything is in line, everything is good.
Vladik, I hope you'll keep us updated on any additional progress. Thank you very much for speaking with us today.
Thank you.
That's Dr. Vladislav Sandler, Hemagenics Pharmaceuticals CEO.